Hey, hey, welcome to another episode. I am Dagny.
And I'm Damali.
And in this episode, we want to discuss and reflect with you about food. In particular, in this conversation, we want to reflect on three things. First, we want to talk about diet culture, what we have been seeing as some concerns when it comes to content, mindset, the types of products that are out there, body image, and things like that. Second, then we want to go into the food industry and how it seems to still be very much a scam. And taking note of how those scams continue to evolve like an octopus. And what we need to do about that, because it's very much connected to the concerns that we're seeing with diet culture. And then finally, because we like to try and bring solutions to these conversations, we're going to talk about healing through food, how to navigate and be mindful with your food, sharing our own experiences in different parts of the world, and how to help in terms of avoiding diet culture propaganda and navigating the scams that the food industry and manufacturing continue to be doing. So that's what we're getting into in this episode. All right. So to start, let's start with diet culture. Now, the point of diet culture we're speaking on is, with the research that we did on this episode, we noted that there apparently, allegedly, and supposedly is now a resurgence of diet culture hype, skinny obsession that we had seen about 20 years ago with products, fitness routines, influencers, celebrities, aesthetics, all trying to push a certain unrealistic body image on basically anybody who's going to consume this culture, diet, routine. And there's another layer to it that's concerning, because 20 years ago, your hosts here, myself and Damali, we were alive 20 years ago. If you weren't listening, we're going to let you know that 20 years ago, if you want to know what people were supposed to look like, or the image that all of us were trying to apparently want it to look like, just look at celebrities, what they look like 20 years ago. This is going to be 2004. That's still the Y2K vibes. So if you look at, what did Destiny's Child look like at that time? What did Christina Aguilera look like at that time? What did Pink look like at that time? Wait, was Aaliyah still here at 2004?
I think she already.
Did she already die at that time? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. No. Rest in peace.
But even before that, she was very,
she was also, her size was also the image, okay? Because she was also very slim. What I'm noting is that all of these people, exactly. And then also, because I only noted women, also if you look at the size of the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC at that time, the Boys to Men at that time, Maxwell, all of them, their size, Janet Jackson, all of them, their size, they were all skinny. Sometimes even Britney, like just skinny was the way. And that's why at that time, the style was like the low rise jeans with the bell bottom and the little scarf top. Why? Because we're skinny. Okay. Oh, Samantha Mumba. I'm thinking of her now too. Skinny. Yeah. So we're having a resurgence of that size, apparently, is what we are yo-yoing back to in diet culture, which is very funny because I'm like, y'all were really claimed you wanted to be thick and the BBL was like a thing. But I guess we're going to the opposite extreme now, and you're tired of being thick. I don't know. But so this is the image though, right? Because diet culture is very much about an image and then trying to get you to be addicted to stuff to get you to be this unrealistic image. So Damon, I'm going to hand it back over to you now
Oh
to
man.
discuss further this first part of this concern with this diet culture.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how it just seems to be we yo-yo through diets, right? Like 1 minute it's like, oh, everyone should be skinny, yay, and the next minute everyone should be like thick and have curves, yay, and what's that thing like real women have curves and things like that, or like or if and even we had like fat shaming and then skinny shaming, like, oh, why don't you eat a sandwich, like all of that stuff, which doesn't really help. I don't think it helps anyone. It's always like we're always, and of course, I mean, men are in it, but we all know that a lot of this is women. It's always about women. People are so obsessed with our size. Even if you're not obsessed with it, everybody else is, and they'll be sure to tell you about it. And so with these diets, it's just this thing is getting kind of out of hand. With all these commercials and stuff about, oh, here's this new diet, and you should try this. And we have the keto and the paleo and the keto and all these different. What was that one? The bullet coffee thing, where all you have is coffee, so you're not hungry later. We have like the smoothies where like your food is just drinking it. And I mean, I don't think that all food should just be, drunk. I feel like we probably have to chew it at some point. But yeah, there's just been a lot of these like especially with I'm trying to think of all the celebrity. There's one celebrity I forgot his name. There's one celebrity trainer where he's always like, "Hey guys, just now it's all about the body type. Like, what is your body type? What is your hormone type? Let's figure out what we are so we know what to eat and stuff like that." And it's all about this. It just seems a lot of it is a lot of aesthetic stuff, where it's like not so much about how healthy you feel. It's more about like how I'm supposed to look like. And we're trying to look like this celebrity or someone on TV, even though we know that the celebrity has all of these trainers and money and all, or they have their job is to look a certain way, kind of thing. And this is not only in America. This is the same with like Korea, other places, kind of thing. And so I just think it's really gotten out of hand. I don't even think like the problem with dieting, as we all know, is that it's hard to keep it up. Like, I don't know how you keep a diet. Like, I'm just not going to eat at this certain time for 20 years. What? Like, no, that doesn't, it just always seems like I'm going to have a diet for this month and get to this certain size. And then that's it. I can finally, as if it's like diet is like a punishment for you. Right. And I think that makes it hard because and then it also ties into your relationship with food that you're just supposed to eat it for nourishment and to enjoy, to be with people and talk. It's not supposed to be like a death. Food shouldn't be like a death sentence. It shouldn't be like this horrible thing, like food is out to get me and things like that. And it's like, that's not really, food is just food. It's just how you eat it and like what you're putting in and putting inside your body kind of thing is what's important. And so this whole like dieting thing is kind of we keep yo-yoing between like what we're supposed to, or what the point is of food and how we feel, and then of course that ties into like body positivity. At first, we were going through the body positive. Everyone can be who they want to be. You can look how you want as long as you're healthy, and we were doing that, but we always kind of go backward a bit. We start with that, and then it tears, and then we end up, and then we have the opposite problem too, right? Where you'll have some people who are very thick and everyone is like so into them being thick. And then the moment they lose weight, everyone's attacking them, or everyone is like having, like, I think Adele had a similar issue, right? Where she was like, she was known to be thicker. And then when she lost weight, people were like upset at her and things like that. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, it's not supposed to be about how you look. It's about how you feel it and what you're doing in your life and things like that. And so I just thought this podcast would be interesting to like discuss that and how that's changed and how it needs to be, food should not be, you shouldn't feel bad when you eat food. And I think that's what keeps on happening more. This whole diet culture is that like, and it's always like, it's some kind of like, oh, I didn't eat yesterday, so today I get to have a cookie. You know what I mean? Or like, oh, like I didn't get to, oh, I can only eat this, like, or if people are going on, they want to eat, like, oh no, sorry, I can't go eat with you guys because I'm on a diet kind of thing. Or like, oh, I'm not eating, or, like, oh my God, if I want to lose weight, I'm just not going to eat like that. And we do it like it's some kind of like it's a joke. but like it's not funny. You know what I mean? It's like,
Mm.
where's the joke? Although I have to say I'm guilty of that sometimes too. Like because
Mhm.
I'm with food. I mean, for me, I don't care. I'll eat whatever. Like I do not care. But I do that thing where I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have cookies today. But I'm like, I'll have all these cookies today, and then tomorrow I don't have to. I just won't have cookies, and then
Because
whatever,
that's
right?
because that's food math. Food math.
That's
Yes.
how food works, or I'll just eat this whole bowl of vegetables and that's it. And I'll be fine,
Mm-mm.
or I'd be like, I'll just eat all these vegetables and then not eat, or I think, how long can I just not eat? And that's the kind of thing. Although that doesn't really work for me because I've always like eaten what I want. It's just hearing all these other people saying, "Oh, you have to do this. Be careful of this. Be careful of that." And so yeah, so it's just been like kind of a yo-yoing between that. And I guess that can like tie us into like why it's like that and how food has changed and how all of a sudden organic, which is normal food by the way. I don't know why they make organic like it's super like it's like fancy food. Like it's like
Mm.
only the rich people can the bourgeois not the bourgeoisie. Who are the richer? I've forgotten what they're called. The
No, I
name
think
of the
bourgeoisie.
richest people.
Oh, okay.
Bourgeoisie, is that what they're called?
I think
I've forgotten
maybe.
the
Sure.
old, yeah. Only the rich people, the 1% can eat organic food and
Mm.
all the other plebeians can just eat from the floor. Like, it's not really that's not granted, the organic food is it's from the garden, so you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean. But yeah, it's like, how did organic become a thing? Like organic is like that's how the food's supposed to be. That's like the point of it, right? And so I don't know how and then now it's all this stuff that, putting all these like extra hormones in the food, doing all like, I think wasn't there a thing where they had like a burger that was left outside or something for like, how long? It was like months where the burger was left and it never like got old.
Mm.
And then even the bugs wouldn't eat it. And I'm like, oh,
That tells you something. That right there.
that like if the bugs on the floor
You
won't
mean the
eat that
roach?
food, then
The roach doesn't
you're
want it?
putting
You
it,
should not be eating it.
yeah,
Uh-uh.
and you're putting it in your mouth, So it's
Mm-mm.
just this weird kind of like put hormones. We need food to last for 10 years. And it's like,
Mm-mm.
no, like that's, and then, and you know what they say, like when you go to a grocery store, was it that you should stay, I forgot, you stay on the outskirts of the store, right? Because all of
Mm-hmm.
the unhealthy stuff is inside.
Inside,
So
yeah.
the closer you feel on the corners of the store, don't go in, stay to the side kind of thing, and just the weird stuff and the marketing and
Mm-hmm.
all the way they make food look on the,
The
you know,
package.
on the commercials
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff. And you're just like, I just gotta have it. And I'm like, you are eating sugar. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like if you got like an X-ray and you put on the food, it's just sugar. But we don't like
Mm-hmm.
think of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then also, and it makes me think of how we don't like, you really have to think about what we're putting in our body. And it made me think of, I think I said earlier, where like, um, if you saw what happened to your body inside your body when you eat food that's bad for you, and like you probably would not eat it,
Mm.
right? Because the damage that these hormones, all these foods are doing to our bodies, and then we wonder why we have all these like people are getting sick, all of these like diseases, where
Mm-hmm.
everyone is lethargic and tired, and like
Mm-hmm.
their mind doesn't work, they can't think straight. Well, because of the food, and you're
Mm-hmm.
you're basically putting these poisons in your body. And you don't even know it. And I definitely from experience, right? I can think about like when there's certain foods I eat that are not good for me, I feel horrible. Like and it's not only you feel sick, like I feel like your you can't even focus.
Mm.
I think it even affects like your memory. It affects all these things, all this weird stuff in the food. You don't know, what's inside it. And you're like, oh, whatever, I'll just eat this one thing, kind of thing. And maybe because we can't see it, that's why we just eat it. Because I think about if people go buy a car or something, or they go to buy clothes, like you normally, I mean, sometimes, but like you think about what you're going to buy, right? You look at what you want to buy, the size, the shape, you know what I mean? You don't just buy any car. But yet when we're eating, sometimes we just eat whatever food is around that's available and just, ingest it. And sometimes it's well, we'll get into this later too, the economics, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when you go to McDonald's, you can buy a pretty cheap thing sometimes, right? Depending on where you are, like, it's cheap for a reason, you know what I mean? Even though the food is not that good for you. But then for some reason, the healthier food is super expensive. And I'm always like, what kind of weird mind games is this media marketing, and obviously everybody knows that the companies make money off of that. Like, they make money off of your insecurity. They make money off of like how you want to look. Oh, everybody wants to look skinny, so we have to make these, you know, these different like ads and subliminal messages kind of thing to make you do this. And like, oh, do this crash diet and you'll get like this, or do this thing and you get like that, and things like that. And then, yeah. So that's my spiel on the, I guess, the diet culture and body positivity side. It's a problem that we need to fix.
Right. Yeah.
Back to you.
And I think I'll add, also the diet culture while we go into the food industry as well, because you also notice some stuff that connect to the two. And I think with diet culture, I think what's always been concerning with me to it is how it distorts and I think damages one's relationship with food, because it always seems to be very focused on restricting yourself, depriving yourself, or even making yourself guilty for stuff, and giving food a power, like a distorted power in a sense of either you hate it, or you're obsessed with it, or you're addicted to it, as opposed to like understanding the source of your body. So that when you noted like, oh, everyone's about knowing your body type or your hormone type. And I'm like, knowledge is important, but it just always sounds like they're masking as if they're giving you more knowledge when still they're just giving you propaganda. Because the focus should be more on why are you experiencing cravings, as opposed to suck it up and just don't eat anything, kind of thing. Or like, you should feel guilty that you have cravings or something, and then go ahead and like yo-yo from binging to starving yourself. I wonder why it's still not working with what you want your body to be, as opposed to allowing you to have a better relationship with food and understanding of food, which I do think is something that takes a lot of effort, because we're really not, at least from my frame of reference, we're not taught that. Like, I don't know if there's other school curriculums in other parts of the world that choose to do this, but I think it would be wonderful if children were taught in school about food. Like what the different types of food are, how they're grown, what they should look like, and what they do to your body. Why you should be eating carrots. What would happen if you eat too much of this and too much of that? What happens if you eat too much sugar? Like, I feel like those sorts of things should be a common knowledge thing, as opposed to something you hear about after the fact. Or if you tell it to a kid, it's just, don't eat too much sugar or your teeth will fall out. And, and like for a kid, it's like, bet, let me see what happens. Like some kids will be like, okay, I want to see what that looks like. Like it doesn't, I don't think that really gives you the result you want when you're trying to get kids to eat a certain way or not. And as an adult, I don't think it gets you what you want either, where like we do have a lot of adults who, you're trying to figure out how you want to eat. You were taught how to eat a certain way, which is like a culture in itself, not only due to the culture of where you live, but the culture of the home you were brought up in. And so as an adult, for a lot of adults, you're just going to continue that unless you make the effort to learn how, if that was actually good for your body or not. But the point is, well, you got to learn what is good for your body or not. And I just feel like that information, it's great that we have more access to it, but it's such an effort to sift through the diet culture propaganda to get to it. Because like you noted, organic should be the normal thing. Is actually the normal food is already clean. But if you want the junk food, it's over there in that section inside. Like that's how it should, literally that's how it should be. But this segues our conversation now into more of the food industry and the scams of the food industry, because I feel they are very much connected to diet culture. I think actually they are under the same department, basically, because diet culture feeds into what the food industry needs from you. And the food industry scams feed into the diet culture. So the interesting about the food industry is that, one, as you noted, in terms of packaging and stamping things as organic or not, is that the organic stuff also is processed. It's not actually completely clean when it's being manufactured by these bigger corporations. If you are lucky to have either, if you're living in a place where you have farmers markets, so you really are purchasing from local farmers that are growing and harvesting these things or packaging these things, then the smaller ones like that, I think is we hope we can trust that those are clean and that really is the vegetable or that really is the herb or that really is the grain, whatever it claims to be. But unfortunately for bigger corporations, their packaging just goes with whatever trend that's happening. So if everybody now needs to be skinny, this is skinny Frosted Flakes. We now have skinny Coca-Cola. We now have skinny tea. And all of a sudden it's skinny something, something. And it's literally probably the same formula, but we just added the packaging because we know you're going to pick it up. And then all of a sudden you all want to be thick. Here's thick Cheerios. Here's thick ramen noodles. Here's thick Pop-Tarts. You know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden you all want a booty. Here's booty popcorn. Big booty chocolate milk. Big booty. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you just add the stuff to the marketing to claim it goes with whatever trend you want it to be. Everybody wants to do keto. All of a sudden, everybody has a keto section for their prepackaged stuff. You want to be Mediterranean? Here's Mediterranean seasoning. What's in it? It's exactly the same as seasonal. It's exactly the same as sugar, but we put Mediterranean on the stamp. So unfortunately, the food industry has continued to demonstrate that they're more of an industry, and then they're more about the industry than they are about the food. And that's a problem.
Yes.
And what's fascinating is that even though the information for all of this has been accessible for a while, like the types of documentaries that are now out for food about the food industry and what's going on. And even though a lot of the times, as always, they tend to focus on the US mostly, because unfortunately, all over the world, the US, we seem to be like almost number one of having the worst food landscape in the country. Like the majority of the population is eating the worst type of food in the world, unfortunately. Even though you have so many options, the grocery stores are huge, all the shelves are full. But like when you calculate how much processed everything, processed sugar, processed salt, processed chemical oils, processed metals, processed, I don't know what else to be putting in there that's not really supposed to be in there. Toxins of all kinds are in it. It shows that unfortunately, the American diet or the American food culture is very toxic. And so that's why this has to be a part of the conversation, because the American food diet and culture has been exported all over the world. That's why we're seeing everywhere else. Why are the rest of y'all outside of the US? Why are you so excited to go get KFC or Burger King or McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or any of these American brands? Like, even though, you know, like those toxins are still being transported over there. Like your KFC is not any cleaner than the KFC in the US, you know? So when we note that the food industry is a scam, when we note that it is very linked to diet culture to keep you looping in that scam, how do we break away from it? And when it comes to food conversations, I find that it's very important to hold space for how much economics plays a part in this. Because, for example, the clean eating or holistic eating, I think sometimes the aesthetic for it can sometimes make it seem like it's not accessible to everybody. One, if some people claim everything has to be organic, in some parts of the world, organic, you are priced out of it because organic is too expensive. Or it doesn't make sense because everything has to be cooked and you're living in a space where you only have a microwave. Like, you know, those sorts of things come into play. It also makes me think of, as an example, there was this, some people like to do videos all the time. People like to do all kinds of different videos, but some people do videos where they show themselves cooking or preparing food. And sometimes parents, mostly mothers, like to do these videos where they're showing what they prepare for their kids to eat. And there was this particular video where this mother she's showing what she's preparing her kid to eat. And it's stuff like Hot Pocket or instant pizza, ramen noodles, Pop-Tarts, packaged yogurt, like everything was a packaged food item, right? And some of the comments, the reason why I came up on the feed, because there were a lot of comments noting like, all of this food is so unhealthy. You should call Child Protective Services. Like, what is this mother doing? Like, she's going to have her child like the child's going to have diabetes or stuff like that. And somebody then, the reason why I came up on my feed was that somebody reposted it and noted that all the people who are commenting must not fully understand the food dynamics that are happening in this country. I believe we're gonna assume this video is somebody who was in the US, okay? That all of the items in the video are items that are part of food stamps or welfare programs. So in the US, when you're at the grocery stores, some items will have a certain tag on them to show that they qualify for those programs. So if you're in that program, you only purchase those items if you want, the subsidy that you're supposed to get to cover it. So that means this family that's in the video, they must be in one of those programs. That's why they're in this. That's why the kid is eating these things. And so I think it's, which then, of course, then other comments were happening back and forth of like, that's why you need perspective, blah, 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 and et cetera. But I think I'm sharing this example to note that when we're talking about food culture and how we're dealing with navigating food for our bodies, it's not happening in a vacuum. Economics is very much a part of it, which is why the food industry is a scam, because they know economics is very much a part of it. These sorts of subsidy programs should include the vegetables. It should include the whole grains. It shouldn't just be the pre-packaged junk food. And so when we talk about, okay, so how do you navigate your own food situation? There's a lot of unlearning that has to be done, but the unlearning should not be a blaming yourself or guilt tripping yourself, right?
Punishment.
Because yes, it should not be a punishment, because it's possible that for a lot of us, we grew up possibly not eating very healthy. Not because our parents didn't want us to eat well, not because we were kids that were insisting we don't like vegetables, but due to economics, the food that was in the house that you were living in when you were a child was more about economics than whether or not the food is the healthiest. Yes. So there's a lot of us who you got to unlearn that, like, your palate growing up, your palate was trained for the packaged food. It was trained for stuff to be over salty or like too salty or too sweet. So it takes effort to redefine your palate. And it's not because you are an ill-disciplined person. It's not because forever you will be fat or forever you will be skinny. It's not that. It's just that for a lot of us, unfortunately, the food industry scam has kept a lot of us in a deal of not eating healthy, but like food is more about like, well, what I can afford and just to keep going kind of thing. And unfortunately, what we've been fueling our bodies with is stuff that's not healthy for us, which makes it exhausting, because it's like, okay, well, what should be healthy if it shouldn't be organic, because organic's not really it. But these prepackaged stuff are lying to me because all the marketing on the packaging doesn't make sense. But then also, depending on your economic status, you may or may not have access to the things that you need. So there's a lot. So when we're now going to be speaking on our own experiences of navigating food and healing food, we always got to be mindful of being intentional and mindful of your food doesn't happen in a vacuum. The economics of stuff and the culture of those things does also come into play, that we'd also need to hold space for, and hold space for other people too. As in, we're not here to be shaming other people if you're eating a certain way. We get it of like, your culture always has these staple foods, or your culture always uses these particular ingredients, even if it's no longer being manufactured in a way that's good for you, or even if it was never good for you. Or also, well, the family has always been in this economic bracket, so it makes sense that these are the only things we have in our pantry. These are the only things we have in our fridge. That's how it's always been done. That sort of thing is like, it's not just, it goes back to connecting to, this is not just about aesthetics. It's about your health is very much a revolution in itself, because there's so much set up for you to not be healthy. or there's so much set up for to you be looping and be dependent on pharmaceuticals, be dependent on energy drinks, be dependent on, oh, I just need this one caffeine rush, this one sugar rush, and I can keep on going because you're just supposed to continue working all the time, even though your body is deteriorating inside, but you can't see it, but is actually like having a problem with what you're eating. All right. So when we get to, well, first, before I go into the healing through food or healing your body through food, was there anything else you wanted to add to the food industry scam and diet culture part?
Yeah, I think, in terms of school culture and like work culture, right? I'll talk about the school part first, because I remember when I was in school, this is mostly like in middle school. No, yeah, middle school, elementary school, and like high school. And like the food they were giving us, like,
disgusting.
I don't know,
disgusting.
Man.
Girl,
like,
no.
Why?
No.
Really, we're gonna have milk with pizza. Like, we're gonna eat milk with like let me say that again. Like, and then do you guys well, maybe millennials would know this more than Generation Z, but like got milk. And then you have like a celebrity with the milk mustache. And they're like, drink milk, and this whole thing about how great milk was for you. And then you find out that actually, no, we're not supposed to be drinking milk like psychos, And then we find that apparently the content of milk that we're having, we're not even supposed to have that much when we're older, kind of thing. That's why people are getting like because I thought lactose intolerance was something you were born with, but clearly not. Because now I can't, there's only certain types of dairy that I can even ingest. And I'm like, wait a minute, why was that, and then I'm like, and then now that I know, I'm like, why would I ever drink milk with pizza? Like, why is that even like a thing, right?
And it wasn't even a nice looking pizza.
Yeah. That's the thing.
We were eating worse than the prison system. I don't know what public schools right? in the US, no.
It's just not, it's not giving what it's supposed to give.
Just serving
and I know they
trash.
Put in, and I know they tried for the politics, they tried the whole thing with the eating and changing the food they eat and all that stuff. But I still don't think it's really as changed as it can be, and yeah, we were just eating it like it was normal, and it was affecting us. Of course, it affects you more as you get older, but even younger, you're not supposed to be ingesting and then the styrofoam and everything, and we're drinking from a box. Like, it's just kind of not. It's not, you want a snack, here's some cookies, and here's a bake sale, and it just has all these cookies, and it's great at the time, but now we're like, wait a minute, what is this? So that is also an issue, because then it seems like that's normal. Like, we should, eat that, And then when you think about work culture, since we're supposed to be acting like machines all the time, it's always this thing where there's no time to eat. I have no time. Let me grab my protein bar and run out the door. And I'm always hungry, and all I have is just snacks throughout the day, none that are healthy, and because it's easy, right? It's a rush, and I think I'm guilty of this too. And at my other jobs I've had, where you just eat the easy thing because you have to wake up really early. You don't wake up early enough, so you're in a rush. You don't have time to eat breakfast, even though you're supposed to eat breakfast. Things like that, and you end up not eating as well as like you could. And there's no time to like sit down to have a proper meal. Right. And I think in general, if you can sit down to eat, I think generally you can eat. There's a time to eat healthier, because now that you slow down, you can think more about what you want to eat and what you want to cook and things like that. But if you're not doing that, you're not cooking, we're always on the run, we're always moving. And like there's so many things in the name of convenience. Also, it's about money, but in the name of convenience, we make all this stuff, the box lunches, the box drinks, everything's in a box, throw it in the microwave, 2 minutes, boom, you eat it. And it doesn't taste as good as like cooking the real thing, but you're in a hurry, so let's rush and eat that. So I think that we also have to put into, again, with the economics part, also the society part, and like the way that the way that we live, our whole existence in society is made so that we can't really sit down and slow down to eat anymore. And it's almost like it's a treat. Like, it's a treat to go and eat and have a proper meal at the table. And I'm like, it's not. I don't think that should be a treat. That should be a normal thing. We should have time to go and sit and eat, and not always be like, like we shouldn't be standing and eating. I know that also causes a health issue as well. So I wanted to add that part as well. And it's true, yeah. The economics, obviously, like, if we're, like, the pharmacies would go out of business, right, if we stop using them, right? So I think that's also part of it too, where it's like, we're going to make you guys, I think there's been movies about this too. I think there was a cartoon about that where you just fill up the humans like they're pigs so that they'll need us, right? You just fill them up, stuff them up, and then when they won't have the sicknesses right now, but when they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s, oh, they're going to come rushing to us because of all that crap food they ate. Now it's going to cause a problem for them, right? And then, of course, there's the shaming part of it too, right? Everyone's always shaming what you eat, or everyone's always like obsessed. Oh, you're not supposed to eat. Oh, you should. And then even if you do eat healthy, that gets shamed too, right? And then they always make it like, oh, you're just eating healthy for the aesthetic part. And it's like, it's not, I don't think it's rocket science that if you eat healthier, you look better. But I think that's just part of it. But I don't think that's the point. That shouldn't be the point, right? And I think that it's not just us. I guess is the point. Like with the food thing, it's not just about you. It's a money game, and businesses are feeding you that. And I remember, yeah, skinny popcorn. It's like, why? What? Why can't we just, or even changing names of things? Like I remember there was some burger that they made in McDonald's, and they made it like it was a vegan, or I don't know, they gave it some name, and no one ate it because they made like, oh, this is the healthy burger. And I'm like, why'd you do that? If you just called it any other burger, people would just eat it and not, kind of thing. And so I think we focus too much on the names and stuff and don't kind of like, it should be food. It shouldn't be a punishment. It shouldn't be a fight or like, oh, I'm going to feel, and then when you call food like bad, that you give it power. And it's like food in itself by itself is not bad. It's just food. It's just what you do with it and what, because I don't think animals are like that. I feel like do animals binge? Do animals have diets? I mean, we put them on diets that they don't want to be on. But like animals, cats, dogs, but animals in the wilderness, they just eat what they have to eat and then they're good. You know what I mean? Like I don't think they want, I mean, if there's sugar around, okay, but they don't go around eating sugar and eating all of this. So they just eat what they need and they move on. And I feel like we probably can learn a thing or two from animals where you eat what you have to eat and not, our relationship with food is really, like, I know for me too, like I didn't have this when I was younger. I would just eat when I was hungry. Whereas now it's like, oh, I'm stressed out. Let me eat. Oh, I'm crying. Let me eat. Oh, I'm laughing. Like it's always as if it's like some kind of like, oh, it's for funsies. Like, no, you're just supposed to eat for nourishment. And, and then, and also it's a way to have conversation with people, like if you're at a restaurant or things like that. But yeah, so there's a lot of forces that are like fighting or pushing against us kind of thing to, be a certain way or look a certain way or like, and it needs to be, well, I guess we'll go into that more in our next topic we're going into. But the thing about you need to follow your own like body needs. That's kind of what I think. And so we're listening to a lot of noise and seeing all these people do something like, oh, I want to look like that. I want to look like this. Like, no, like that's not, you do what works for you. Because so the way that you eat might not work for somebody else kind of thing. And everyone has their own. And also there are layers to it. Like, I mean, I know I joke sometimes. I'm not a vegetarian, vegan or whatever, but I know like Dagny has a different way of eating. So we joke, we're like, oh, are you going to eat plants today? You know what I mean? Or eat some birds? Like, want to eat some air? Like, like people make jokes and stuff and like, okay, that's cool. But you don't have to eat. There are different ways that you could eat healthy. There's not just one way. There's not just the right way. There's just what works for you and your body. And even like the sugar stuff, like even sugar by itself. I mean, even fruit has sugar in it. So to make it like, oh, it's just unnatural. Not so. There's fructose and all that stuff and other things. And so it's just the way that we're eating it and our relationship to it and food and the money and like the guilt that we have around something that is just food. Why are you I don't think animals feel guilty when they're eating. It's just food. Why are we're making some convoluted weird thing? And I'm like, just eat when you're hungry and think about how you feel. And if you feel good, then you're probably eating okay. If you're not, then if you keep on getting sick and throwing up and having then probably you have to look at what you eat and look at and it's important. Like, I mean, I know before I found it kind of annoying to have to look at ingredients and stuff, but it's important. Like it's going in your body. Like when you buy other stuff, you look at it, right? When you buy a phone, you look at what parts, the quality of the phone, what the phone is, how much it costs, all this stuff. So it should be the same thing with food, right? You should be mindful about it. Or, we can just go back to everyone make their own garden. Everyone go back to becoming a farmer. You get your own damn food, But, because obviously that makes it easier. If we're a hunter and gatherers again, But yeah, we just have to be mindful, things like that. But yeah, I think that what I said about the economics piece. Dag, you want to add? You can go on with the healing part, and then I'll add more about the, eating for your own body needs.
Okay. So then with the now speaking to navigating or processing healing your body through food, I think, as we've noted in this conversation, there are a variety of layers to it. So these tips that I share in terms of my experience, these are more on the individual side of what you could do for yourself. But also I take note that I still want to see there's still a lot of policies and regulations that need to be put in place when it comes to food and food access and food production and things like that, where in some parts of the world we should not be having food deserts anymore, where certain neighborhoods don't have a grocery store because we decided that economic bracket doesn't need one. Or just the packaging of things, or allowing farmers to actually exist and get paid for doing what they need to do, so you can have local food being produced and things like that. On an individual level, learning how to navigate healing your body through food takes a lot of training. So you need to make sure that your mindset from the beginning is you're giving yourself grace, holding space, and being patient with yourself, because there's a lot of unlearning you need to do while you're trying to find the knowledge that truly resonates with you of what you're trying to get for your body. For me, when it came to choosing to change the way I eat, it had nothing to do with I need to be a certain size or need to look a certain way. That it had nothing to do with aesthetics. And I honestly at the time when I started, which this would be 2011, 2012, in terms of going the vegetarian route. Prior to that, I was someone who was still a bit picky with my eating. Like I would drink more water as opposed to soda. Like I would treat myself with soda instead of drinking soda all the time. Or I would not be eating like chocolates, packaged chocolates all the time. But when it came to being more really pivoting the way I eat, that was 2011, 2012. And at that time, I really had no idea what physically was going to be the result of doing this. For me, it was more of, I need to understand what my body needs. And I want to see how can I do that through food, as opposed to the only option I'm being given, which is medication. And that's it kind of thing. So it was not a diet mindset. It was more of, I'm trying to see what's the magical food formula for me. And before that, I didn't really know. I eat for nourishment for the most part, but I don't really know what seasonings do what for you, or what nutrients, like really do not have nutrient knowledge about food. Like a nutrition can tell you, okay, well, this is what you do for calories. This is what you do for vitamins. This is what you do for those sorts of things. I didn't know, other than like those gummy bear multivitamins that maybe I took sometimes as a kid. That was kind of the basics for that. So when it came to choosing to be vegetarian and vegan, I'm going to say that I'm not here to convert you to be vegan or vegetarian. Right? I'm not. But as the first tip, regardless of what your protein choice is, take notice whenever you're eating, how colorful is your plate or your bowl? What colors are in the plate or the bowl? If it's all brown or tan, you might be depriving yourself, okay,
of the rainbow.
Nutrients.
Of the rainbow. Depriving yourself of the rainbow.
There you go. There you go. You might be depriving yourself of the nutrients that you need. I've noticed, because I do be watching other people, not to judge. I know my eyes are big, so people think I'd be judging. I'm not judging. I'm just observing. All right. And I can take note. that even before, for me, before going vegan, if I remember what my plate looked like, majority of the time it was brown and tan. That's it. And maybe yellow because there's going to be some plantains on that plate. But other than that, that's it, right? Where's the green? Where's the orange? Where's the purple? Where's the blue? Like, where your plate should have the rainbow. So one really, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a great way to just like start getting yourself the nutrients that you need, is make a point of learning, what vegetables do you enjoy? The taste of, the texture of, and how can you be creative with them? The biggest thing I notice is that when it comes to adding more fruits and vegetables, and that's if we didn't get the connection, the color, the rainbow comes from the fruits and vegetables that are supposed to be on your plate. They're not on your plate. That's why your plate is brown and tan. Okay, that was a connection there. What I've noticed that what tends to be a bit of a hurdle or an obstacle for folks to add more fruits and vegetables into their eating is that, well, it's bland. I don't know what to do with it because I only know how to season steak. I only know how to season the fish. I only know, like, a lot of their cooking or what they are used to is you focus mostly on your protein, which is usually an animal. And then maybe you focus on your starch, which is either your rice, your potato, your fufu, your spaghetti, whatever. And then the vegetables end up being an afterthought. Okay, let me just like boil them quickly and just throw them there because you said I needed vegetables. And it's like, and then you wonder why.
Guilty.
Exactly. And you wonder why it doesn't taste like anything. And you probably don't want to bother with it again until someone reminds you again that you should be having vegetables or fruit. There are so many, like the same way you spend your time on your protein, you can also do that with vegetables. Okay? They can take the seasonings too. They can handle it. And you'll be surprised how tasty they can be. Yes? Another thing with the fruits. Some people like to peel and eat fruits, while others, there's other way. You can do it in juices. You can do them in smoothies. You can incorporate them in desserts. If you're somebody who likes to bake or put desserts together, see how can you incorporate fruits into that more. Either a fruit bowl or whatever cakes or breads you like to have. Could they have a topping that's fruit-based instead of cream cheese-based or frosting sugar-based? Okay. So that's the first tip. You got to bring the rainbow back into your plate. And you'll be quite fascinated to note that the only aspects, because it's always brown, is because the only vegetables you're bringing in there are onion and garlic. And that's it. And it's like, that's not enough for your body to get what it needs. So if you can try and incorporate that in the different meals you have gradually. Sorry, do you hear the pounding in the background?
I don't know what's. Someone's at your door.
I don't know what's happening.
I can still hear you. Continue.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, y'all. My bad. Well, we keep going though. We keep going. We move.
Keep going, man. This podcast, we're going, man. Train.
Right. Anyways, so my second tip goes into seasoning, and you'll note that my tips are focused more on cooking because, to be honest, if you want to heal your body through food, cooking your own food, preparing your own food is a really big step towards that. Unless you also are hiring a private chef or something, or a meal prep person to cook for you, eating out can only give you so much. Even if you have healthy restaurants to eat out at, you still cannot vouch for what oil are they using, what seasoning are they using,
put in the food,
what was in the food, what packaging did it come from, what pot are they using. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't vouch for those things. So the cooking for yourself is a big part. And I'll take note later on that because I feel like it also has a spiritual aspect to it when you cook your own food. But we'll talk about that a little later. Second tip, when it comes to seasoning, be mindful of the seasonings you use and the ingredients. A lot of, like we noted already with the food industry scam, a lot of the packaged seasonings that are available also include toxins and chemicals and metals that your body really cannot digest and is having difficulty digesting. Now, this does come with developing a different palate, because the thing is that a lot of these prepackaged seasonings give you a huge spike in salt and sugar. And so so you're used to stuff being super salty or used to stuff being super sweet, right? Yeah. And that actually is not what it's supposed to be. And that's actually not good for your body. So when you do get seasonings, make sure that when you read the labels and try to get the purest form. Now, that doesn't mean it has to have the stamp organic on it, because as we already noted, the stamp organic is not something you necessarily need to trust. But getting the pure turmeric, the pure red pepper, the pure cinnamon, the pure ginger, the pure garlic powder, the pure cilantro, if that's your vibe, those sorts of things are helpful to make sure that you're not adding toxins that you were trying to avoid by not going out to eat. It also is helpful because if you go in and start learning what all these different herbs and spices and herbs. Who say that? Who say?
Can you continue, please? My goodness.
Okay. Sorry, it's a Ziggy Marley song. If you don't know, now you know.
I know.
Okay. So a good thing to know is that all these, the nicer, the pure forms of these herbs and spices all also have nutrients. They also are giving you different types of vitamins, different types of omegas, those sorts of things you actually deprive yourself of when you're getting the artificial one. So for example, the package you get in your instant noodles to season the noodles. Do you know what's in that packet?
Quiet.
Do you know what's in that packet? No, you don't. Exactly. Yeah. It's not what you want to be eating, to be honest. If you knew what was in that packet and you knew what it's doing to your body, you wouldn't be eating it. Okay. So it's things like that where you have to get used to finding different variations of herbs, a mixture of herbs that give you taste. Because here's the thing, it's not about being bland. And I think that's the issue that sometimes for us who go vegan or vegetarian is that a lot of the aesthetics for vegan and vegetarian is bland. It tastes like nothing, as if we're Bugs Bunny. We don't need it to taste like anything. And I'm like, no, I'm Black. Where's the spice? Where's the flavor? Like, what are we doing? Like, that's not going to work. Seasoning. So you can still, exactly. So where's the sprinkle of the seasoning? You definitely can still have your spice and your savoriness eating healthy, right? But just requires you to really learn your herbs and spices and not only get the pre-packaged chicken flavor spice, pre-packaged fish flavor spice, pre-packaged Italian flavor spice. No, that those things are not, unfortunately, those things have stuff in them that also are causing your body a problem. Even if you are using that to put on the vegetables you are begrudgingly trying to add to your plate, it's not going, like, do you see what I mean? Like both of those connect when it comes to the seasonings and even also the broths that you use, BROTHS. The broth that comes in a box is convenient, but unfortunately, because it's on the shelf, it also has other ingredients to keep it on the shelf, which technically should not be in your body, which is very annoying because then it's like, that's not convenient. So actually creating your own broths, which you can do regardless if you can do it with vegetables where you you boil the vegetables and then drain it. So that's your broth. Or you do it with your protein and drain it. And that's your broth that you can keep for the week to cook your other things. Those are the ways to keep your food tasty, but you also are keeping it clean. And also for some of these things, you'll find that it costs you less to do these sorts of things, even though it takes more preparation to do the mixture of the herbs yourself, or it takes more preparation to create your own broths. But you'll find that you end up spending less when you do that than when you're getting the prepackaged things as well. Third tip is the mindset around your conversation or your relationship with food.
Yes.
Trying to All of us are on a different part of that spectrum where we will call it emotional eating, where some, okay, they'll eat more when they're feeling down, while others, they will eat nothing when they're feeling down, and something in between. Yes. While, okay, some foods you see has been labeled as bad in your mind, or some foods are labeled as your comfort in your mind, or some foods are labeled as, well, that makes you fat, or some foods are labeled as, well, I don't know if any food is labeled to make you skinny. I don't think so. Technically, it's like you just should eat ice if you want to be skinny. Just eat air and you're fine.
Oh, man.
So that also takes a lot of unlearning and deconditioning to disentangle yourself from what you were taught about food. So for me, when I decided to go into vegetarian and then vegan, my mindset was I saw food as a tool. I saw food as medicine. I saw food as magical. I saw food as I'm collaborating with food to assist my body. As in, food is what is the tool my body needs to function the way it does. As in, okay, these certain ingredients is causing my body to overreact because it doesn't like it, or it can't compensate for it. For example, rice. Rice is a staple, a holy divine staple. Yes. For a lot of people in this world. I would say possibly like the entire global South. Rice is very important for all of us. And when you take note of diet culture, one of the main things they insist you should just kick out, never look at again. Rice. Don't touch it unless you want to be fat. Like that's their vibe.
Oh my God.
And it's like, do you have to be so violent? Did you have to choose violence? Like what's wrong with you? So I would say that from what I've done in my research, because I understand all these tips is just from personal experience. I am not a certified nutritionist. So please go to someone with a certificate and a license to get, understanding of how this is supposed to be implemented for your body. But from what I've learned when it comes to rice, the difference with rice is that at this moment in time, rice is being manufactured in a way that has stripped it of its nutrients. This is why we're having the issue of all the rice that we eat. It's turning into sugar and fat, and it's just sitting in our body, and it's correlating with the rise in cancers, not rice by itself, but the rise in cancers, heart disease, cholesterol problems, all of that. Okay. So yes, the cop-out is to insist, okay, just stop eating rice, go and eat leaves instead. But that's not really the source of the solution. The solution is the nutrients that were stripped from the rice. Could we possibly bring them back? Now, you and I are not the one manufacturing the rice, so I can't just put it back into the rice. But the nutrients that were supposed to be in the rice, could you make sure that the stuff you're eating the rice with have those nutrients? Because the issue is, if the rice is stripped from the nutrients that your body needs, that means your body does not have the tools, because the nutrient is a tool. The body then is not given the tool to digest the rice. And that's why it's turning into the sugar and stuff like that. So if you can figure out, okay, the nutrients that were stripped, which again, that depends on your body, nutrients that were stripped, put it in your stew, put it in your vegetables, put it in the fruit, put it in anything else you're eating the rice with, put it in that. So that now you can still eat your rice, but you have your nutrients. Do you see? So that's why diet culture and the food industry is an issue, because they always give you things as if this is the only option. Kill it. This is the only option. You only eat this. When like, no, it's because you chose to manufacture it in a way that is not okay for our bodies. So now we need to add more tools, add more nutrients in order to do that. That's an example. When it comes to how you navigate these 3 tips, when it comes to the mindset, and then bringing in your vegetables and then your seasonings, you understand that you're balancing foods that are not always manufactured in a way that your body can handle, even if it's the raw thing like rice. Okay? So that's how I'm going to leave it. I'm going to keep it to these 3 in terms of tips. But in terms of healing through food, there are a lot of layers to it. That's why you got to give yourself grace and patience to navigate it. And patience also to see how your body reacts to these things. Maybe your body prefers this herb over that. Maybe your body prefers certain fruits over others. Because it's true, fruit has sugar too. You need to balance it. You can't just have fruit by itself, because now your body is overstimulated with the sugar that it has and things like that. Finally, we got to bring spirituality into it, of course. And I do think that cooking for yourself, or just having a connection with food, makes a difference with how the food comes out or how your body receives it. It also reminds me of this show on Netflix. I think you and I watched it, Damali, and it was in, I think it was in Spanish. And it was like Bruja something. Like the girl was a witch, but she had to travel to the future or back in time for something, but like she lost her memory or something. I forget. It will come to me. And in it though, because of course she's magical, any emotion that she's feeling comes out in the food. So she was working at a restaurant and she was sad because whatever mission she was on, it wasn't working. So she was sad. And so she had been crying, and then she cooked. And then everyone in the restaurant is eating the food and they're all crying, but they don't know why. But do you see, like, it's because your emotion was in the food and everyone had to eat it. So I do believe our connection to food is at that level. It may not be as dramatic as in the show, but I do think it is at that level where there's a difference between the food you eat when you or someone who loves you has cooked it, compared to the food you eat outside by strangers, or the food you eat that was prepackaged by a machine. There's a difference. And I feel like for me, when I switched to eating like this, that did also mean that the majority of my food I eat, I cook for myself. And I note that it does make, I note the difference for myself and how I feel after eating a meal where I felt like I can feel the difference in energy in terms of how I feel. If I was feeling good when I was cooking, or if I was feeling annoyed while I was cooking the food, that makes a difference too. So those are some of my tips and my experience in that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think you shouldn't deprive yourself of food. I don't think, and also, like, if you deprive yourself of something and you don't like it, you're probably more likely to eat it later. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think like food should be a like something bad or something that, I think you just have to change the food. Is something, it's just to change your relationship with it. And know that there's different layers to it, and like you can eat however you want. Just just go with how your body feels. Don't try to be so much like, oh, I have to eat like this other person or do like other. No, just do what do research. Definitely. I think that's a big part of it also. Do research so you know what's in your food and what will work for you, and like what is the best for you to follow what your body needs. And then another tip is also you can write down what you eat. I know that kind of, I do that sometimes and then I get lazy, but I know, and there's also apps for that too, right? Where you can write down what you eat, you write down what's in it. Even for me, who just eats whatever the heck I want, even me writing stuff down has helped me be like, oh, and you think twice about it because you're like, damn it, now I'm thinking about it. It's not, I can't eat it kind of thing. And then also with depending on how you live, because some people, if they live on their own or they have it, sometimes you can control, or you have your own personal fridge or something, you can control what you bring into it. I noticed too, like for me, like I'll eat something less if I don't see it. So if I open my fridge and like there's a bunch of chocolate in it, then I'm probably gonna eat chocolate, right? But if there's no chocolate in it or it's hidden, like, then sometimes I think twice about eating, like binging on it and like eating too much of it, kind of thing. And yeah, so I think that those are some tips too, where you just kind of like, right, be aware, right? And then how you're mixing things together. Like I remember there's some girl that told me, I think about back in college, and she was trying to lose weight and she was eating nothing but salad. But she changed her diet. She was eating salad and then she gained weight because of the dressing. So like the salad dressing that she put in the salad made her gain weight. So you see how sometimes like even the so-called healthy stuff, once you mix it with other things, it becomes something like unhealthy, right? And we shouldn't have people have such tunnel vision of food and like, this is the way it is and we have to do this or else, or just don't eat it, or like, oh, throw this away, or like, no, like it's just the way you mix it together. I'm guilty of that too, where I'm like, okay, I'll just throw some carrots in and just eat them like that, like, kind of thing, which is fine for carrots, but some other greens and stuff like that, it needs to be mixed with something so that it actually tastes good. And it shouldn't be like, oh, I'll eat this after, or like, kind of thing. And then for fruit too, like fruit is good for you, but there are some fruits that are kind of, and then even if like, and you need substitutions for stuff. I mean, if you're good at, some people are good at that, where the moment they have to stop eating, they just stop eating it, and then they don't, and that's it. But for others, you have to get like used to it and maybe use a substitution for the food. And then also over time, your body will get used to what you do with it, kind of thing. Like you're the one in control. Your body's not controlling you, right? You're not being hypnotized, hopefully not. But it's like your body will get used to whatever you do over a period of time. So like if you want to stop eating a certain food or you want to eat less of it, you can change the way you eat it or change the time that you eat it, and then your body will be like, oh, you're not eating this anymore. Okay, then you'll get used to that, and then you won't even like think about it. Like I used to drink more soda before, and then for a certain amount of time I stopped drinking it so much, and then now I don't really drink it that much. And then for dairy, I used to love, oh my gosh, I love dairy, but I can't because of my lactose intolerance now. It's hard for me. I get sick if I eat it or drink it. So that obviously feeling sick is not fun. So sometimes that stops me from having the dairy product, even though I really want it. And I'm like, oh, I can't drink this kind of thing. And so, yeah, just be more mindful of it. Don't be so, I mean, it's hard because we get inundated with all of this stuff on media and all these things. And even if you don't want to look at it, it's just like in your face, like do this and you'll look like me, or don't eat this. And then here's this new diet and, kind of thing. So, but I do think, I mean, even though it's a money game a lot of the time, but I think it is important to look at like, what your body type is, or what your hormone type, or what kind of foods work for you, or what kind of foods you can ingest. And yeah, that's as Dagny had said, yeah, talk to a nutritionist and talk to people that you trust that can really help you fit what you need. It's more about what your body needs, not what what other people say, and and then and then being so obsessed with, people get so into the weight scale and like, oh, I have to weigh myself every single minute and things like that. And I think that stresses you out and can really get really into your head about stuff. And like, I don't think that helps. It needs to be just like, it needs to be just like something easy, like drinking water, right? You don't really, well, do we think a lot when we drink water? Not really. You just kind of, you're not like, oh my God, I'm going to drown if I drink the water. Like, that's kind of dramatic, but you see what I mean? Like food should not, and it's sad because I remember when I was younger, I didn't think about food. You just eat. Like if you're hungry, you eat, and then when you're done, you just don't eat. Like it's simple, But as you get older and all this stuff online, all these things in the media, the TV, everyone's just making so much noise about the food and all of this stuff. And I don't think that's the point. Everyone, like with most things, everyone has their own individual way that eating and things work for you. And we should stop shaming people for what they're eating, or shaming people for how they look, or, well, you do this so you can't eat this, or this person, kind of thing. We do that a lot, and I don't think that moves us forward. And also then it makes sense that we keep on going backward. Like 1 minute we're like, okay, body positivity and food positivity, and we're going to figure this out, and then we regress back. And it's like, of course we do, because we get all mixed up in this weird stuff, and the businesses and the industry are doing all these things to get you to keep eating a certain way. And in terms of economics as well. So I do think that we have to re-educate ourselves, I think, right? Because when I was back in school having health class and about food, I don't think all the stuff I know about food now, I'm not sure I was taught all this when I was back in school. And I wonder if it would have had a different effect on me if I was taught these different things, right? So yeah, just have to re-educate ourselves and do our own due diligence, look up stuff, research our own things, and don't see it as like, oh my God, it's evil. Even like fast food, like it's not out to get you. It's not like the fast food is like outside your house and knocking on your door, like, oh, you better eat me, I'm going to attack you. Like, no, like, there is some choice in there. Okay, there is some choice, right? Obviously it would be easier if all we had was healthy food all the time, but sometimes you don't always want healthy food either. Like sometimes I just want a cookie and it tastes good and it makes me happy. Why can't I eat it? Like, kind of thing, you know? And yeah, even it's true with things like cravings and stuff. I mean, of course, we talked earlier. We have like, with PCOS kind of adds a different layer to that with our lives. But it's true. I didn't have the cravings issue when I was younger. I didn't really, I'm an adult, obviously adult life is different, but like when I was sad, when I was younger, I don't think I ate food. So so you have to go back and think, when did food become like a social activity? Like when did it become like a sport? Like, okay, how much food can you eat? Let's go. Ooh, like, you know what I mean? Like, it should just be for nourishment. And if you go out to have fun with family or friends, you're just, I mean, even if you're eating and laughing and talking together, that also helps, I think, with food. And I think our obsession with the food thing is kind of, we need to change that and edit that. And of course, if we are able to re-educate ourselves and edit it in a really big way, that would also affect industries and businesses, because if they're seeing that what they're throwing out is not affecting us anymore, and like they're not making money off of it, they'll be like, oh, okay, then I guess we can't keep on making this random stuff. Like, oh, no one's eating the food with all the pumped up hormones. Oh no, we have to change our course of, you know what I mean? Like they feed stuff depending on how we're reacting, kind of thing. And if we're not reacting to it, we're not bothered, then they're like, oh, we have to change our tune, But obviously that's obviously very either here nor there. It's very difficult, obviously, and there's a lot of workings and machinations with that. But I think you just have to we have to listen to our bodies more, and kind of just it's just food. It's not a monster. It's not going to come in. The food's not going to come and attack you or eat you. Like it doesn't lie. It's not going to come sit on you. You know what I mean? Like, the food is innocent. Okay. It's not the food. It's just the way that we are affected by it, and we react with it, and we, add things to it. The food by itself is just chilling on the plate. It's not it's not going to stare at you, well, I mean, if it's not alive,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kidding. But yeah. So yeah, I think that's one way to heal ourselves with food, and not think that it's like an attack on us. Yeah.
All right.
That's what I would say.
Well,
about that.
to wrap up,
Wrap up, as we do, with peace, love, and blessings to all.
Indeed, as the dessert for this course. This new course. See what I did there? See what I did there? But yes, I think thank you for this conversation. I think it was,
Thank you.
It was good. I enjoyed it. And you listening, I hope you enjoyed it too. As always, let us know what you think of the episode. Did you learn something new? Is there another aspect of this topic you would like to hear our insight on? Reach out and let us know. We love hearing from you. And we will catch you on the next episode.
Yes. Enjoy your food the best way that you can.
There you go. Bon appetit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Take care.